What's going on, guys? This is the Talking Sports podcast with Adam and Alec. This is episode 24. Today is part two of a six-part series we're doing of episodes breaking down with the MLB division previews, breaking down each division. Last week, we talked about the AL East, and tonight we're going to be breaking down the AL Central. So, Alec, you want to get us started off with that?
Yeah, so like you mentioned last week, we did the AL East. This week, AL Central. One thing me and you talked about starting this podcast was we forgot how kind of competitive spots 2 through 5 were in this division. I mean, you had the White Sox run away with a 13-game lead over Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City, Minnesota. But spots 2 through 5 are separated by 7 games. And honestly, Detroit, as much as we talked about them not being really competitive in the free agent market, they actually finished third. So maybe they are just a piece or two away from competing with Chicago. Obviously, Cleveland took a step back last year. They lost Francisco Lindor to the Mets. That obviously played a role. And then Minnesota, you thought they were going to be good, and then injuries hurt. I know Byron Buxton only played, 68 games, somewhere around
60.
And pitching's obviously a key thing that they need help. But, yeah, this division, which we'll preview, we'll get in predictions later, still probably going to be Chicago running it this year. But I'm interested to see that 2 through 5 play out again because they're all really competitive, really close, and they all have the strengths and weaknesses that kind of counteract each other. But much like last week, we'll keep the same format, I guess. So we'll talk about the division winners first. Or actually, we started with the worst team last week. So we'll start with Minnesota this week. Last year, they went 73-89, 20 games back at first place. Kind of looking at the bright spots on this team, the guy with the highest batting average looks like it was Nelson Cruz before he got traded.
Yeah.
Overall, Luis Arias, he hit 294, played in 121 games, and he's 24 years old, so he's younger. He'll probably be one of the bright spots for this team in the future. I mean, looking at home runs, because they're always considered one of the better power teams. Jorge Polanco led with 33 bombs, followed by Miguel Sano and Josh Donaldson. And, I mean, this team, they have the guys that on paper, they're one of the better teams, but they can't stay healthy, I guess, so to speak. What's your take on this team from last year?
Yeah, the big story for the Twins, I feel like, was Buxton being out 100 games. I think you said he played around 60, maybe a little bit over 60 games. So pretty much missing 100 games. And he's a key young player. And I think has a bright future in the league. And only playing 61 games, and he's probably your best player. That's going to hurt your team big time. You also talked about Nelson Cruz. He went to the Rays in free agency. So Nelly Cruz, is that guy ever going to not be good, I feel like?
Yeah.
I remember last year I went to a Rangers-Twins game, and I went to a game. It was two games of the series, and I remember the first game, Cruz hit a bomb to center field. And obviously, as a former Ranger, like, I got respect for Nelson Cruz, even though he cheated and all that. But just like he's like 40 and he's still hitting bombs, you know. You talked about Jorge Polanco hitting 33 bombs, and Josh Donaldson hitting 247 with 26 home runs. They've got power, and I feel like they've got some good young talent with Buxton and Polanco, guys like that. Their lowest ERA was a 3.48 for with Jose Barrios, I think, in 20 games pitched. So definitely, if you're going to be good in the MLB, you got to have a good bullpen. So you definitely want to see that ERA to drop from their aces, you know. But yeah, that's really all I got for Minnesota. Like you said, this division is really tight between 2 through 5. And honestly, any of these teams could be fighting for that second spot this coming season.
I think kind of looking how this team sets up, they might be in the worst situation out of the bottom 4 in this division just because most of these guys are older. So they're going to start falling off here pretty soon. I don't see many. Maybe I miss them, but I don't see many like young guys that are promising at the moment besides Buxton and Luis Urias. I mean, I might be looking over a lot. I know Nick Gordon is young, and he's supposed to be pretty good. But like Miguel Sano, he's 28. But Josh Donaldson, 35. Nelson Cruz, 40. Mitch Garver is 30, the catcher. So catchers don't really play many games a year, unless you're Salvador Perez. But we'll get him in a minute. I mean, Andrelton Simmons is 31. I'm pretty sure he went somewhere else, didn't he?
That sounds right.
I can't remember too much about this team. They didn't have a single guy with more than 100 RBIs, which is also problematic when you're got a rotation with mid threes as your lowest ERA. So a lot of things that Minnesota can try to improve on, but their window might be running out on competing. They might have to start that rebuild process.
Yeah.
So next up is the Kansas City Royals. Last week we said we'd have a guy on talking about Kansas City. He had some family stuff come up, so he's not going to be on tonight. However, this Kansas City team was actually one of the surprising teams last year. Looking at the standings, they finished fourth with a 74-88 record. It's one game better than Minnesota and 19 back at first place. So there's still quite a bit of a jump, but you know they had a promising lineup last year. We mentioned Salvador Perez, 48 home runs. I think we mentioned that was the most home runs by a catcher in history.
Yeah.
And the dude's doing it at 31 years old. I feel like he's been good for so long. And it's just insane that he's able to keep going, especially as a catcher.
Yeah, you talked about catchers and the amount of games they played per season, you know, and he played, if I'm not mistaken, 161. So what, he missed one game?
Yeah, one game.
That's impressive.
That is insane as a catcher. I mean, some of those are probably DHs, but still.
And hitting 48 bombs, 121 RBIs. I mean,
that's
what a season.
I mean, catchers who can hit are hard to come by. Usually you get a catcher who's good defensively, but I don't know. Salvi had a career year last year. Hopefully he can repeat it. One thing I didn't talk about in Minnesota was the stolen bases because I saw so many on this Kansas City team. Their leading stolen base guy only had 11, Jorge Blanca. But Kansas City, on the other hand, stolen bases, you had Whit Merrifield with 40. Nicky Lopez had 22.
Wow.
And Michael A. Taylor all had 14. But that Whit Merrifield, he's a solid ball player. 40 steals, only got caught 4 times.
How old is he? He's been playing in the league for a while now.
He is 32.
Okay.
And he hit 277 last year. The leading batting average guy was Nicky Lopez, the shortstop. He hit right at 300.
Oh.
So Nicky Lopez got a bright career ahead of him. He also had 22 bags, only got caught once. Salvador went 1 for 1 on stolen bases.
Oh, hey, that's good for a catcher.
He can run. But, yeah, they got some bright spots. Andrew Benintendi, former Red Sox, hit 276.
17 bombs.
Home runs. Yeah. So they got good pieces, and I feel like they're still kind of in a window of opportunity, kind of. They're not like right at the perfect spot, but they're not where they need a rebuild yet. One guy that you mentioned was Jorge Soler. He only hit 192 with the Royals, but he went on to be a huge guy in the World Series.
He was the MVP, wasn't he, of the World Series?
I believe so. I think so.
You know, Kansas City fans are hating that they lost him.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's insane that Atlanta would go out and get a guy that hit 192.
Yeah. Who would have known, right?
Right. Looking at the pitching rotation, not pretty, that ERA. Denny Duffy was the best one. He only pitched in 13 games, though. He had a 2.51. I believe injury.
Wasn't there some in the 5s? I remember I was looking at it earlier.
Yeah, Mike Minor, 505. Brad Keller, 539. Daniel Lynch, 569. Chris Bubich, don't know how to say that, 443. Brady
It's
Sing,
amazing. It's amazing they won 74 games.
for real though. Starting rotation's not great for them. The bullpen was okay. Scott Barlow had a 2.42 ERA, and Josh Dalmau had a 2.88. So the bullpen's all right. Rotation needs some help though.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, Danny Duffy, he had a really good start if I remember correctly, and then an injury got him. I can't remember, but it had to be an injury if he only played 13 games.
Yeah. Only 13 games as a starter. That's got to be due to an injury.
Yeah. But yeah, starting rotation needs a lot of help. Their offense is all right. Can I see the run differential here? So I cannot for some reason. I don't know if I'm reading this right, but they scored 686. They allowed 788.
Wow.
They still ended up with 74 wins.
That's impressive.
I might be reading it wrong, but yeah.
I mean, we can both agree to be successful in the MLB, you have to have a solid bullpen. You got to have great starting pitchers. You got to have great relief pitchers. Obviously, you got to have a closer. I mean, the bullpen is key to success.
Yeah, you can get away with a weaker rotation if you have a really solid bullpen.
Yeah.
And honestly, the Royals from 2014 to 16 proved that.
Yeah.
They had a few good starting pitchers, but that bullpen, sixth inning on, was dominant. And they kind of set up the same way this year. So they might be able to make a jump into second or third. I don't think they'll take the division by any means.
That kind of led into the next point I was going to talk about was the last time this team made the postseason was 2015 when they won the World Series. So we all know those 3 years they were at the top, and then now they've just fallen off,
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see if they can rebound and, get back to the postseason.
Mm-hmm. That'll bring us to the next team, which is the surprising team that I didn't realize was this decent last year. The Detroit Tigers, third place in the AL Central. 16 games back, they finished with a record of 77 and 85. So they were 3 games back of second place. And honestly, looking at the lineup, nothing really pops out to me with the batting averages. Home runs are all – they got 3 guys with 20 plus, led by Robbie Grossman. Yeah. Eric Haas hit 22. Jonathan Schoop hit 22. Highest batter average, it looks like Jonathan Schoop with 278.
And the ERA is terrible.
Yeah, there's nothing here that makes sense that they finished with that decent of a record, I guess. Other than they were just able to find out ways to win. Looks like Willie Peralta, 3.07 ERA was the lowest they had. I mean, they're definitely young. I'll give them that. Looks like Casey Mize had 30 games started. He's 24. Tariq Skubal had 31 games played. He's 24. Matt Manning played 18 games. He's 23. So the rotation's young.
Yeah.
And they're getting a lot of experience early in their career. They're gonna be good here in a couple of years, but this team's just so weird.
It's crazy how they're third in only 3 games out of second last season.
Right. I remember Akil Baddoo was a big name back in May, I think. May or June. He started going off. And then he kind of cooled off, I think. He hit 259 throughout the year. Had 13 home runs. The leading RBI guy was Jonathan Schoop, who had 84. So they don't really have like an all-star bat, so to speak.
Miguel Cabrera is getting really old.
Yeah, extremely old. He's 38 right now.
Yeah. and he set a record. It was towards the end of the season when he broke the 500 home run mark.
Mhm.
So that was cool to see.
He's been so good for so long because he won the Triple Crown 2013 or 14, I want to say.
Man, back in from like, man, it would have been like 2010 through 2013. Those Tigers teams were good because
They
I
were
remember
solid.
they played the Rangers like deep in the playoffs every year, and those are some good series.
Yeah, they were a very solid team back then. I'd be interested to see when the last time they played in the playoffs game was.
2014,
Jeez, that's been a while. 8 years,
8 years, a long
7
time.
years. This will be the eighth. But I remember they had Scherzer, they had Price, they had
Verlander.
Verlander.
Yeah,
They had a really good pitching rotation,
they did.
and they
Yeah,
never won a ring with that, which is insane.
they got there, and wasn't it 2012 if I remember right? I'm trying to remember who they lost to.
Don't remember. I know 2013 they got bounced out by Boston. 2012 might have.
Oh, that's gonna bother me.
2012 World Series. San Francisco.
They got swept by San Francisco.
It looks like it. ALCS
Yeah.
Detroit beat New York 4-0. They lost to San Francisco. Was it a sweep? Yeah.
Yep, they got swept.
Jeez.
Man.
That San Francisco was really good back then too.
Yeah, they were really good.
Now too, which is weird. But yeah, I mean, this team needs to get they need to get a dude, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm sure they got some dudes in the minors. I know Isaac Paradis is supposed to be pretty good. Casey Mize pitcher supposed to be really good. They had a third baseman. I can't remember who they drafted, but big old dude. I don't see his name, so he didn't have any playing time last year. That's gonna bother me. But they got some dudes in the minors they'll probably make an appearance this year.
And that's huge for these teams that are kind of in the rebuilding stage.
Right.
We talked about it last week, building through your farm system, getting young guys and building them up, and before you know it, they could be the next stars in the league.
Right. And they know they're not going to win this year. Even if they were to get second, they're not going to get a wild card because we talked about how dominant the AL East is.
Right.
So, yeah, it'd be good to see some of the young guys come up in this division. Next, last year they were the Cleveland Indians. This year they are the Cleveland Guardians, right?
Yep, Cleveland Guardians.
So their record last year, 80-82, 2 games below 500, 13 games back of first place. Mentioned earlier, they lost Francisco Lindor to the New York Mets. And, they replaced him with Ahmed Rosario at shortstop. His replacement hit 282. Lindor didn't do too great this year either. But it's still a dude that it's hard to replace a guy of that caliber.
Yeah. Rosario hit 30 bombs, though, didn't he?
Right. Ahmed Rosario, he hit 11.
Oh,
Jose Ramirez, 36.
Oh, that's right. I got those mixed up, yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to replace a guy that talent, and it shows in the record. Batting average looks like the highest was Miles Straw, who's a 26-year-old center fielder. He only played in 60 games, though. Ahmed Rosario might have led in batting average for full-time guys. Looks like it. But, yeah, Jose Ramirez, the main guy on that team, 36 home runs, 103 RBIs.
Yeah.
The only guy – oh, no, Franmil Reyes had 30 home runs. I was about to say the only guy with 30 home runs, but Reyes had 30 and 85. Jose Ramirez also had 27 stolen bases.
Wow.
And he's a bigger guy.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he had a great year.
He did.
36 homers, 103 ribbies. You just said 27 stolen bases.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. So, Ramirez is the star of the team now that Francisco's gone. They're going to have to build around him. He's 28, so he still has a couple years of his prime. Cesar Hernandez, usually a really good average hitter, only hit 231 last year. He played in only 96 games, so that might have been a factor. But looking at the rotation now, the rotation on paper looks phenomenal. With Zach Plesac, Aaron Savali, Shane Bieber. But looking at those three guys that I just mentioned, the lowest ERA was Shane Bieber at 3.17.
Wasn't Cal Quintrell, I think? Didn't he have a
He had
2.89?
2.89. He started 22 games, so I don't know if those 22 were beginning of the year or towards the end of the year because he played in 40 of them.
I'm pretty sure I went to an Indians, well, now Guardians. I went to a Cleveland game last season, and Cal actually pitched the game I was at. And I remember fans talking about, this was like mid-season, talking about how he was normally a reliever. So okay. I think he was a reliever, maybe because of some injuries, kind of had to step into a starting position role. I'm not so sure the details about that, but I think maybe the first half of the season was more of like a reliever, just a reliever, and then he had to start some games.
Yeah, I can see it because it shows he started 22 games and he pitched 149 and 2/3 innings, which is also the team lead. So, 2.89 through 22 games started, 40 games played is really good. He's 26. Their whole starting rotation is under 26.
Yeah.
So they got a bright future with the rotation. And Emmanuel Clase out of the bullpen, 23-year-old, he throws heat, that's for sure. He had 24 saves with 1.29 ERA. So the pitchers might be okay if they can just get the ERA down because they're really young. They're really talented. It's just getting the ERA down.
Cleveland Guardians. Sorry, that trips me out sometimes.
It's going to take a while to get used to saying that.
Yeah.
That leaves us with the Chicago White Sox, the reigning AL Central Division champions. They went 93-69, which was the third best record in the AL, only behind Houston and Tampa Bay. Looking at their lineup, Yasmani Grandal, another catcher who could hit really well. He hit 23 home runs. He only played in 93 games. Jose Abreu was the main guy, though. He had 30 home runs, 117 RBIs. Played in all but 10 games at first base. Really took a huge step this year. I know previous years he was poised to be the next thing. And there was a couple years out there, I think, that he was kind of underachieving. But this year, it really, really went off.
Yeah, he definitely had a great season.
And then Tim Anderson, 309 batting average. He's always a really good contact guy. He had 17 home runs, sorry.
Yeah.
Yohan Moncada, the dude that was part of the Chris Sale trade. He had 14 home runs this year with a 263 average. Andrew Vaughn, 23-year-old guy, came up last year. Had 13 or 15 home runs. You remember Yermin Mercedes to start last year?
I don't know
if it's this year or the year before, but he started off with, I don't remember how many home runs he hit in the first handful of games, but it was an insane amount of home runs.
I remember him being hot at the beginning.
Yeah, he ended up only playing 68 games. He had 7 home runs. Most of those, if it's this year that I'm thinking of, most of them came in the first week or two that he was up. Guys off the bench, Eloy Jimenez. I don't think he came off the bench, but he only played in 55 games. He had 10 home runs. Nick Madrigal hit 305 in 54 games. So this team they're pretty solid. Obviously, they won the AL Central. Looking at pitchers, Giolito threw a no-no, didn't he?
I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, Giolito had a 3.53 ERA. Dylan Cease had a 3.91 ERA, but Lance Lynn had the lowest with a 2.69. Actually,
wasn't it Carlos Rodon?
Yeah, I just now saw him. He had the lowest with the 2.37.
And he went 13-5.
So this team is poised to make another pretty good run. They just need postseason success now. They had the bullpen also with Liam Hendricks and Michael Kopech. Even Garrett Crochet, who throws 110, it feels like. So they got pitchers, they got hitters. They're poised to repeat as divisional AL Central Division champions. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the rundown of last year. Do you want to say anything else before we get into predictions for this year?
I was thinking about the White Sox, and I was thinking about it was the Field of Dreams game, and then Tim Anderson hit the walk-off in that crazy game.
That was such a good game because that was them in New York.
Yeah.
That was such a good game.
That was an awesome atmosphere too, how they redid that stadium and everything.
Mm-hmm. And definitely a cool experience to watch on TV. Well, I guess we'll get into previews of this year. Minnesota, they finished last year. Do you think they finish last again this year? Do you think they take a step up compared to these other 4 teams?
I could see Minnesota being towards the bottom. I don't know if Buxton's going to be able to stay healthy.
Right.
Like you said, they've got a lot of older guys, which they got experience, but it seems nowadays you really need that young talent to kind of boost you, to take you to that next level that we've seen most teams with, and they've got to fix the bullpen, obviously the high ERAs we talked about. This division's so close with all the bottom 4 teams that you could really choose anyone, I feel like. But if Buxton plays for more than 60 games, I mean, they could definitely be higher than 5,
Right.
So I think it's going to come down to them staying healthy and if they can fix their bullpen.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on the Byron Buxton thing. He's such a good ball player. He just needs to stay healthy because when he's healthy, he's one of the, I'd say, top 5 center fielders probably. I mean, he can hit for power. He can hit for speed. The dude, kind of a 5-tool player. But again, like you said, this 2 through 5 is so tight. I mean, I don't see Cleveland dropping below 80 wins. Detroit's kind of one of those teams that they could do the same or they can do a little bit better. Kansas City, I think, does better this year. I still think Minnesota finishes last. I think Buxton might get traded towards the trade deadline if they're on pace to finish last. So, I think they'll finish last and they'll start that rebuild process this year with the trade of Byron Buxton.
Trade him to the Rangers, baby. Let's go. Make it happen.
Rangers are getting everybody right now. Well, they're not right now, but
we were.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end of this video.
Yeah.
We got something coming up. So, my kind of bold prediction is Buxton gets traded and they start the rebuild process while also finishing last in the AL Central.
I could see that happening and probably if that happens, rebuilding, probably finishing last for the next couple of years.
Oh, for sure. Because it looks like they had the 3rd worst record in the AL, only behind Baltimore and Texas.
Yeah.
They're probably on the top 7 draft pick, it looks like. So they'll get somebody good there. Next up is Kansas City. This is a team that I expect to make a jump. Not like a huge jump, but a bigger jump. Maybe get closer to 80 wins. All their guys were good last year, and I think the pitching rotation takes another step this year. Hopefully they get a full season of what was his name? I had it. pitcher, but Danny.
Duffy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Duffy. Hopefully,
Duffy.
they get a full year of Duffy. I think if you get a full year of Duffy, they can easily get close to 80 wins and push for second place in this division.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think they got a lot of talent. You think Salvador Perez is going to have that amazing of a year again?
I don't think it'll be 48 home runs. I think he'll get 30. I think last year was just it was an insane year for him.
Yeah.
He went off all year long, and it's insane to see that as a catcher.
I definitely could see this team making a jump. Not big enough to win the division yet, but I could see them jumping to second or third in the division here.
Yeah, and if all things go really south and they're sitting at in fifth by the trade deadline, I would expect them to move Salvi this year because he's what we said 30.
Yeah.
He's getting up there. I know that.
You don't want to waste him, and he doesn't want to be wasted,
Yeah, Salvi's 31. So obviously he's not going to be a great catcher for another 8 years, but definitely if it looks bad this year, you probably get rid of him, try to get your draft picks for him, or prospects, I should say.
Yeah.
Did I give a prediction on him? Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Guess we'll move on to Detroit. This is a team where I don't know how they won 77 games last year based off all the stats. I don't think they'll win 77 games this year. I don't think they finished last either. I already said I think Minnesota will finish last. I think you're going to see a lot of young guys get called up, and we never know depending on free agency because there's a lot of guys rumored to go to Detroit.
Yeah.
If we ever get that. But I think they'll finish fourth, probably with 73, 74, 75 wins, somewhere in there. But I think we're going to see a lot of young guys get called up for this team this year.
Yeah, this lockout has kind of messed up everything free agency wise and everything. Because I remember talks of, I'm pretty sure it was Correa, wasn't it, to Detroit before the lockout. So, I mean, like if a big move like that were to happen, then we're talking this Detroit team's probably second, or competing for first. Could be, possibly. Right. One guy can't do all that, but they would probably be a lot better. There's kind of a lot of unknowns, I feel like. Man, I don't know. I don't think that team can win 77 games again, like you said, unless they got to improve a whole lot because – like we talked about earlier, the fact that they won 77 games is amazing. I could see them dropping to fourth. Man, I could even see them, if it goes real bad, I could see them dropping to fifth, honestly. But I think you're right. If things aren't looking good, they could trade some pieces away, and bring up some prospects and try to get some looks for the young guys, get them some experience start rebuilding for the future. That could happen, but who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. It's a long year, that is for sure. Next up, Cleveland, the first year being the Guardians. Last year, they were 2 games under 500. I think the pitching rotation takes a step forward this year. They had kind of a disappointing year last year. I think Jose Ramirez stays. Jose Ramirez, he'll do another 30-20 campaign. And I think they go probably 86 wins. I still think they miss the playoffs because, like we mentioned last week, the AL East is so dominant. But I definitely see them jumping up to 86 wins and maybe giving Chicago a little bit of trouble. I don't think in the end it'll be enough, but definitely more than 80 wins, I think.
I think this Cleveland team could be really interesting to watch this season. I think they definitely get back to 80 wins. I don't know about 86. And I think they definitely still miss the playoffs with how crazy the AL East is.
For sure.
But I could see them being second in this division again, but I definitely think they get back to 80 wins.
And then that leaves us with the defending champions, the Chicago White Sox. I don't think me or you are going to argue the fact they're not going to win the division because it's set up perfectly for them to do it again.
Yeah.
Such a good team throughout. I don't think they make a deep playoff run. I don't think they have those guys, but they definitely have the guys to win the regular season division title for the next couple of years. I think 93 is kind of their plateau win again. Well, maybe they do make a deeper run because I remember that bullpen is young and a lot of good arms out of there. I don't know. I think they'll get out the divisional round. I don't think they get out the CS, though.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think this team will win the division again. They got a lot of young talent, like you said, great young bullpen, which is going to be great for their future. Guys like Abreu and Tim Anderson, and, great ball players. I expect big things from Chicago this year. They'll definitely win the division. There's no doubt in that, unless something crazy happens. I definitely think they break the 90 wins again. I don't think they're that team to break 100 yet. Not yet. Maybe here in a couple of years. I don't know. But I definitely think they're sitting around the mid-90 win range. Maybe a deep playoff run. I don't know. I could maybe see them getting to the ALCS.
Yeah, I could see them if they catch the right team in ALDS, they can win that. But I don't see them beating a Houston or a Boston or a Tampa in the best of 7.
Right.
I think a best of 5, they have a chance because they can throw 3 guys out there. But when you get 7 games, you get more tax on that bullpen.
Yeah.
So that kind of wraps up the preview. Who's going to be the best hitter in this division this year?
I'd love to see Salvador Perez do it again. That'd be awesome.
I'd see it too. I think Whit Merrifield would lead the average, and I'll go Jose Abreu with the most home runs.
All right. You also got Jose Ramirez there too, who could.
Yeah, I think he'll sit right around 30 home runs again.
And honestly, Buxton. I think Buxton can make some noise.
Mm-hmm.
If he plays more than 60 games,
Yes.
Obviously, if he plays a full season, he can make some noise and be in that conversation for the best hitter.
Yeah, I think the best pitcher really comes down to, I think we said Carlos Rodon. Any of those 3 Cleveland pitchers that we talked about that kind of took a step back last year.
Yeah.
And then Danny Duffy, if he can have a full year, he started off really solid last year. So there's a lot of interest in 2 through 5, this division. Kind of seeing what route those 4 teams go this year. Because you got 2 that could really start rebuild. And then you got 2 that could kind of be on the rise. It's an interesting division, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else about the AL Central?
I know I'm excited. Hopefully, we can get baseball. As if you haven't heard the news, Rob Manfred is the worst. They didn't come up with a deal again. I think the deadline was Tuesday, if I'm remembering correctly. Mm-hmm. And they've already canceled the first 2 series of the season. So we've already lost about 8 games, roughly.
Yeah.
I think hopefully they can get their act together and get this deal done so we can have baseball.
The thing that bothers me the most is we knew about this lockout in December because we were talking on the podcast, talking about college football and saying the lockout.
Yep.
Why didn't we do anything from December 5th to February 28th? Why did we wait until the last week and a half before the deadline to try to make progress on this thing? It's just so irritating. It could have very well been avoided if the 2 sides just came together. I'm sure the players wanted to come together earlier in the process, but it's annoying as a baseball fan.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
It's a mess. I mean, there's no spring training.
Yeah.
So there's going to be will there be a spring training? Is it going to be short condensed, or are we just going to go straight to the season? Like, what in the world is going to happen?
Right. And you can't really relate it to the 2020 season because that was a whole different adventure in itself. But
Right.
this could have very well been avoided.
Yes.
You got minor league guys that are in spring training but not getting paid at all.
Yep. That's a
They're
problem.
they're getting training and stuff, but they're not doing anything for money. You got the MLB guys not making any money because they're not playing. They can't go to team facilities because they're an active MLB player. The owners are being stupid. The fans are getting hurt.
Yes.
And it's a big, stupid thing. Because like me and you mentioned, right now, spring training should be starting.
Yes.
We should be getting
this week. There should be games.
Yeah, we should get highlight reels and bloopers already.
Yeah. Yep.
But instead, we got Rob Manfred smiling in a press conference saying, "Oh, we canceled the first 2 series of the year." Dude, figure it out.
I know. It's ridiculous. And not to mention, this lockout started when free agency was going crazy in the MLB. Some crazy things are about to go down even more. And then, nope, we just kill it.
It's just so stupid because it could have been avoided or it could have been taken care of a while in advance before this instead of waiting until the last minute.
I agree. Very frustrating.
There's rumors because I remember Monday was the first tentative day of this last day, and then they pushed it back to Tuesday because the owners said they were close on a deal. Well, it came out Wednesday that the players said that we weren't even close on that deal Monday. The owners are lying.
They're just saying that for the media.
Yeah, so it's like, how many games are we actually going to lose out on this year? Because if they're not even close, we're talking about the first month now.
It's ridiculous.
It's an embarrassment.
Yes.
You got people that are scheduling summer vacations to go to different ballparks. Well, does the schedule get changed now for those summer months? And if so, those people are screwed out of tickets.
Exactly.
It's so dumb how simple this would be to fix, but we want to wait till the last week and a half.
And the problem for me, it's all about money.
Mm-hmm.
And don't they make enough money already? All of them? Like, seriously, come on now. Just give us baseball.
Yeah, I mean, when the owners bought the teams, they've already made ample money.
Yep.
Since buying it, because the sport has grown so much in revenue.
Yep.
So they're not hurting for money. This is just this is fun money for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they want to be greedy and it's so dumb. I do know once this whole thing is situated that there's going to be a lot of free agent signings in the first couple of days.
Yeah, because there was stuff about to happen.
There's going to be a lot of guys that want to get paid.
Yep, exactly.
That's irritating. Very, very, very irritating.
I guess we can hope we have baseball by May. Is that good to say? By May,
I don't want to wait till May.
I know. We're supposed to have it, March 31st?
I know.
It's supposed to be opening day? 28 days from now?
The only thing I have to look forward to is MLB The Show 22 coming out like March 28th or something.
We got March Madness, but that's a whole nother.
Yeah. Which that first episode would be next
2 weeks.
Not this Tuesday, but the next Tuesday after that.
Yeah.
Because we got the last regular season game, then the tournament, the conference tournament, and then Selection Sunday. So, yeah, we got something to hold us over. I'd rather opening day, but
yeah, exactly.
It's just because so many interesting things happen on opening day.
Yes. And just the excitement that baseball is back is always awesome.
Oh, this sucks. This really sucks.
Hey, let's just hope for May. Hope for May.
Hope for a new
April doesn't look too good right now.
Hope for a new commissioner.
Yes, that's where it really needs to start.
And it's not even just like the random players that are speaking out. Mike Trout posted about it.
Yeah.
Mike Trout's one of the faces of baseball, and he's posting about how it's dumb and how he just wants to play.
Yep, exactly.
Dude, Mike Trout, who everyone knows.
Yep.
It's
listen to the players, man. Come on now.
It's not hard. So we don't have MLB. We do have college baseball, which is fun to watch.
Yeah.
Not as fun, but it's fun. Did you know Andrew Jones has a kid?
I didn't know that. Oh,
Yeah,
was that the kid, the overrated thing that I
yep,
saw?
Drew Jones,
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
number one prospect in his class,
yeah, yeah. I did see that video. Yeah,
tallywhacked it.
man.
Yeah, Drew Jones. I think he's lined up to go to Vanderbilt, if I looked correctly.
That's normally where all the top prospects go.
Vanderbilt is a factory for baseball guys.
Yeah, it is.
Where did they had a couple pitchers this last draft? I thought I can't remember the names
Yeah,
now.
Jack Leiter for the
Yeah, where did
Rangers.
he get?
We
Oh, that's
we
right.
got him. Yeah, with like the third overall pick, if I remember right.
Didn't they have? Who was the other pitcher? He had a really big College World Series a couple years ago. Kumar Rocker.
Yeah.
Did he end up getting drafted? Because I know he had some injuries. Selected with the 10th pick by the Mets, but was not signed. It's interesting. Yeah, Drew Jones committed to Vanderbilt. Jack Leiter. I was hoping the Red Sox would take him.
I was hyped about that pick.
He's a dominant pitcher.
Yeah.
Let's look at the top 100 or top 50 prospects real quick. See how many are in the AL Central. Oh, top 100, even better. So Bobby Witt, the third best player, is a shortstop for the Kansas City Royals. They are loaded in the middle infield.
Yeah, they are. Merrifield second,
Lopez
yeah.
was short.
Yeah.
Spencer Torkelson was a guy I'm thinking of. First base, third base for the Tigers. He's the fourth rated prospect. Riley Green, an outfielder for the Tigers, is the seventh rated prospect.
Wow.
Jack Leiter's the 12th rated prospect for your Rangers. I'm not seeing too many other guys for AL Central. Royce Lewis, the shortstop for Minnesota, is 35th. Austin Martin, an outfield shortstop, is 36th for Minnesota also. Jackson Joby, a right-handed pitcher for Detroit, 46.
That's still a decent amount in the top 50.
Yeah. Tyler Freeman is Cleveland's highest at 59, infielder. Yeah, so Detroit had some dudes.
Yeah.
And then Kansas City had another middle infielder. So, yeah, I think there was more hype over the AL East last week over the AL Central because of the 490 win teams. But overall, I think this division is more interesting 2 through 5 than it is who's going to finish on top.
Definitely.
And next week, we are going to preview the AL West, which, Houston has been running it lately, but Seattle ended up second last year. Oakland is usually right up there. They finished third. LA picks up Noah Syndergaard. They have Shohei. They got Mike. If they can put it all together, they can make a run. And then Texas, with all the free agent signings and the trade pieces, they can make a run. I think next week's going to be a really fun episode to do. And you said you had a guest coming on?
Yes. I got a guest coming on. Nick will be back on. He was on back, I think it was episode 13 or something like that, but he'll be back on.
Back before the break?
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll be on. We'll talk about the Rangers and the AL West. It'll be a fun episode.
All right. So, yeah. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. If you are a fan of any of the NL East, NL Central, or NL West teams, send us a DM. We'll get you on here.
We'd love to have you on.
For sure. Bring us a little bit of knowledge from those divisions because we don't have – we have knowledge of it, but we don't have a diehard knowledge of it. Like I did the AL East, and he'll have the AL West.
Yeah.
So, yeah, make sure hit us up, guys. retweet us on Twitter, interact with us on Twitter. A lot of good stuff that could be happening pretty soon.